Welcome to Gemini, baby. Hi, hello. I'm your host, Divinity Jen. Thank you so much for joining me for this
69.
episode of my podcast. This is a place where we dive deeply into music, mysticism, pop culture, and so much more. We celebrate the duality of life and the cosmic chaos that comes with it. Hello, my friends. This week's episode is another astrology slash NORWAC informed episode. You guys, if you have watched the previous Gemini Baby episodes, y'all know NORWAC truly changed my life. And so we're continuing with this series. We're bringing on another astrologer, but they're not just an astrologer, they're also a musician. And so you guys know I'm always looking for amazing talent, amazing guests who are a great representation of Gemini Baby and what we stand for here. And so I knew I had to bring on this guest. However, before we jump into that, as always, I do want to give my normal weekly announcements. If you guys are interested in booking a consultation with me, you can go to geminibaby.com/consultations, where you can then book an astrology or tarot or potentially both with me. Uh, It really is up to you. I keep it very basic with my offerings. However, if you do want to get even more detailed and you are open to a non live meeting, I do offer specialty consultations through my collaboration with Shadow and Shine. You can get a zodiacal releasing reading there, or we can get into the decans and bounds. So go to shadowandshine.com to book with me there. I also have my official Marketing with the Heaven ebook out. I still can't believe it. Such a dream come true. And to finally have that book out, which has been a year in the making, truthfully, is such a, you guys, I'm still trying to process everything. But if you are interested in learning how you can market with the midheaven, you can go purchase the ebook at geminibaby.com/star power. However, if you are a Patreon member, you get that for free. You also get my music branding workshop for free. I really try to give back to my Patreons. I'm planning to continue building it out throughout the year, posting in there more regularly. And so if you guys want to support me and my work and also get access to the ebook, get access to the workshop, get access to my private astro and music industry insight breakdowns, go to geminibaby.com/Patreon and you can find it there. And then, as always, we also have our official Gemini Baby playlist. And so you can listen to the official Gemini Baby podcast playlist or my Neptune and Sagittarius playlist, amongst others, by going to geminibaby.com/playlist. Now, if that is too many links for y'all, because I understand in true Gemini fashion, we are all over the place, as always. Just go to geminibaby.com/links and you guys will find the links to every single thing that I just mentioned there. And so, without further ado, let's get into the episode. Everyone, we have a very special guest on this week's episode of Gemini Baby. Please give a virtual round of applause for Grace Pisula. Yay! Woohoo! Grace is a creative entrepreneur. She's a photographer, videographer, astrologer, ecstatic DJ, and a yoga instructor. Oh my goodness, Grace, you are like a powerhouse. Welcome to Gemini, baby.
Wow, thank you so much, Jen. I'm so excited.
Of course. How's your day going so far?
It's going really well. I am preparing, as you know, for Electric Forest, where I'm DJing ecstatic dance, and I feel like I've got this.
You absolutely do. Is it your first time playing?
Not my first time performing, but my first time at the forest. I've been DJing for about 2 years.
That's amazing. For anyone just meeting you for the first time, can you tell us a little bit more about you in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a creative entrepreneur, sort of veteran. Like I've been a photographer and a filmmaker for 16 years. And through that journey, a lot has happened, as you can imagine. And at some point, I just decided to sort of start a new path. There were troubles in my life, and I kind of came onto the spiritual path, and I started reading tarot and got into very deeply into astrology. That led me to Reiki, being an energy healer, and yoga and all this stuff. And so essentially, as I'm healing myself, and astrology came into my life as at that time when I needed that information. Now I kind of exist in these dual worlds as a business lady who helps people be seen online through content creation and video strategy, even websites. And then on the other side, as a sacred witness for transformational containers, I film retreats, I travel, I hold my own retreats and invite people into my world. I do one-on-one work, spiritual coaching, yoga, energy work, etc.
Oh my goodness. I have so many questions for you because I feel like we could get into every single thing you said because you wear so many different hats. But given the ethos of Gemini maybe being like music and astrology, I'd love to start with the music. How did you become a musician? What got you into being a DJ?
Yeah, so the music is the wildest part, in my opinion. I'm so happy that you invited me to talk about this because it's really deep into my soul. First of all, I need to just shout out like my family and my ancestors first. Like I acknowledge I come from a musical family. Like I heard stories about my grandmother who played the violin. My dad was one of 7 siblings. All of them had like a band when they were younger. As in this life, like I never got to see or experience those things, but there's stories that I was told. And my dad was an amazing guitar player and I observed him a lot. So music for me was always part of my soul, but I think that's so in short, I think I was always a musician.
Mhm.
But then the visibility of that and also me stepping into that is a bit of a complicated story. And I mean, I don't know how much you want me to get into it, but the DJing has been emergent as of the last couple years because I went through a very challenging period of my life and found community in ecstatic dance and found community in this other group called Cat Jam. Shout out to Cat Jam. They're a weekly group that meets in Chicago, and they nurture a free space for people to come, bring their instruments or not, and just jam. There is no like prerequisite or skill level required. It's just wherever you are, there you are, and you show up. And so during my darkest periods, I that's where I would go. I would listen to music and dance at ecstatic dance. I would connect and I would also play music and learn to be more comfortable sharing my voice, developing my voice even as a vocalist. And that kind of culminated in this like invitation to start DJing ecstatic dance. And now here we are 2 years later and I'm DJing at Electric Forest. So
Come full circle.
that's like the quickest through line that I can bring, it was something that was really, really like reserved for myself until it needed to come out.
Yeah, I music is just so powerful in its own right. I think what intrigues me a lot about like you is not only do you have like the music background, but also like the mystical, the healing energy. And so you understand like kind of how both worlds can come together. And so, with the example that you gave with ecstatic dance, can you tell us more about that and like how that has impacted you?
Yeah, ecstatic dance is kind of remarkable, and I think that it, like, not only changes people's lives, but it saves people's lives. First of all, I'll explain what ecstatic dance is. Ecstatic dance, as I call it, and not everyone will like this, what I say, but I like to explain it this way. It's clubbing for spiritual people, okay? If there's a place you need to go to get down on the dance floor and feel everything, ecstatic dance is where you go. But here's the thing, it's a sober container. It's a facilitated form of dance and movement. So there's usually a warm up and an opening circle as well as a closing circle. So it's ritual, it's ceremony. And I feel like in some ways it's us as modern humans reclaiming this part for ourselves, that this is truly a healing experience. Separate from, let's say, like just going clubbing, period. Not that it's not a spiritual experience, because a lot of people, like just think about house music and the way that and any genre of music where people have found solace for their soul within that. But these days I find that spaces where there's like a lot of drinking and a lot of drugs, alcohol, those things are there to numb things out. We go to ecstatic dance to feel things. So the DJ curates a set that kind of ranges the gamut of human emotional experiencing. And maybe there's a theme, or maybe there isn't. But the idea is that they kind of invite you in. It starts pretty slowly. It ramps up in energy and then eventually they bring you back down. So you're not left hanging, kind of like you would be at, imagine the closing song of your favorite band at a concert, right? They end on this high energy note and then they're like, good luck, don't wreak havoc on the streets. Ecstatic dance is different. It just is. It's like it's meant to be a complete experience, whether it's an hour or 90 minutes. And you get to transform. You get to work with yourself. You get to change. You get to leave something there, or maybe pick something up, pick something new up, discover something about yourself.
It's incredible. I've never participated in ecstatic dance. I vaguely have heard of it, so I do apologize if my questions are kind of like very, very basic in that sense, but it kind of sounds like almost like a story, like a narration of some sort. And so is it like, again, excuse me for my lack of knowledge, but are you playing like club hits and framing it like sonically so it's like, okay, we're playing a sad Billie Eilish song at the end, or is it more so instrumental? Like, what is the actual like genre of music?
That's such a good question, actually. It's an amazing question. I wish I had found a way to string in Billie Eilish, but I haven't yet. But I'm sure someone has. So generally, the kind of music that we play at Ecstatic Dance is as little lyrics as possible. And that's because we don't want to feed people stories on the dance floor. And I've been victim to being at a restorative yoga class and then suddenly a really sad song comes on and it's the lyrics that are creating the story in my mind and then suddenly I'm bawling. And
Mhm.
without support. Ecstatic dance, actually, if that happened at ecstatic dance, there would be lots of support for that. And that's kind of the point. There is like permission to feel, and all kinds of music are welcome. Specifically, though, tribal, world, house, and dance music, a lot of ambient music. And it's best if it's kind of more recent. And I think it's okay. This is my opinion. I think it's okay to play some bangers. Definitely at the peak of ecstatic dance, there is very high energy and there's whooping and hollering and really good synergy. And yeah, I think, and of course, no songs about drinking or sex or drugs or anything like that. It's a wholesome experience, Jen.
That it is definitely on my bucket list. I feel like as someone who I don't consider myself like a party girl or a club rat, but I can have party girl tendencies during the right time with the right people. And so that sounds just like a whole other like worldly experience. And to add like a spiritual component to it just sounds like a game changer. It just sounds very healing in general. Do you have like a standout experience or moment from you with ecstatic dance?
Like as a participant.
Yeah, or as the DJ.
Well, I'll speak from the lens of a DJ because I hear a lot more about people's experiences as a DJ, and I'm not gonna like reveal anyone, but like somebody once told me that that set I played last night, or this was at the time. They're like that set was like 30 years of therapy in 90 minutes,
Wow.
and I think that's just a testament to like how deep a person can go. And of course, yes, the music is good. The set was great. I think I have great taste in music. But really, a person's experience is determinant on what they're bringing into the space and how deep they're willing to go. Have you ever tried to like dance to music or let me ask this. Have you ever experienced being on a dance floor and then thinking like, this song isn't really speaking to me and I'm going to walk away or this song makes me uncomfortable. I'm going to leave or go grab a drink or whatever. In the ecstatic dance container, you're invited to stay with it and see what happens and what transforms. So I think that every person on the dance floor just kind of like meets themselves in a new way. The music is kind of like a guide and a suggestion, right? It's an emotion. And I try to play every emotional sort of flavor to almost like catch people where they are. I don't know what people's internal states are.
Mhm. So it's not something like that you can like I guess again going back to the club scene example, like this is not something that you can just show up halfway through. Like you really have to be there from beginning to end to get
I
the
think
full.
I think for the best experience, yeah, stay for the full thing. Come for the full thing.
I love that. Do you make music outside of being an ecstatic DJ?
Well, yes and no. I used to write music in the 6th grade a long time ago, and I stopped writing music after I got some bad critique. And so I have a music creation sensitivity that I'm working through. Thanks, Chiron. And I have Chiron in the 8th house, which is being activated a lot by Jupiter. That Jupiter Venus conjunction we just had was right over my Chiron. And I am also experiencing my Lilith return in the 1st house. So I'm connecting a lot of that specific current astrology to the part of me that wants to like express myself with music, not just by making awesome playlists, right? And booping and bopping and curating. But I'm frequently these days I'm recording voice memos of songs that I'm just kind of making up on the spot. And I think for me, my next exploration will be what kind of music do I wanna create, like new music? What is really asking to be expressed? But for now, what I have is, like, I'm a jammer, I got my drum and my ukulele, I sing and I improv, and I have my DJing. And I think the next thing will be sort of to bring those together, either by producing new music or adding a live element to my DJ sets.
Very cool. I love that we're catching you, like, during this beginning stages because now we kind of get to watch this evolution happen in
Yeah,
real
you
time.
will.
And
Yeah.
that is some of my favorite artists that I have been fans of since the beginning is seeing them in their early stages and then watching how their career has evolved. And I think that kind of, makes a difference between just like, a casual listener, but an actual like long-term loyal fan. And so Grace, I'm gonna be keeping an eye out.
You know what's so refreshing about DJing for me is that, like, when I was getting into photography, somebody told me, like, "Hey, I think you have an eye for this. I think you're pretty good at this. Why don't you do this?" And so the story in my mind was that, like, hey, I was already pretty good at photography and visual media and visual storytelling. I feel that I was maybe robbed by this. I was robbed of the experience of being, like, just kind of good or maybe, like, decent or messing up even a bunch of times, and that being okay. That's what DJing gives me. DJing makes and that's why I love DJing ecstatic dance is, like, I can be up there live performing and mess up and then literally be like, "Nobody cares. Keep it going," and that heals me.
You have Virgo placements, don't you? I remember looking at your chart.
Virgo ruled 10th house.
That's it. You're
Virgo
a le
MC.
you have a level of excellence, 100%, like, you are going to shop. But
Yeah, I
switching a
do
little bit
strive. I don't strive for perfection, but I'm very organized and methodical in the way that I do things, and I think most people would see that as excellence.
100%. I think you said a Virgo ruled 10th house?
Yeah, Virgo MC.
Yeah, 100%, like, you are I just wrote a book on marketing with the midheaven,
Mm.
and
Any insights?
yes, I actually got a question about a Virgo midheaven, and they were like, "Well, I don't really, like, resonate with the whole, like, branding aesthetic," and I'm like, "You have to read the full thing because sometimes the midheaven is not just, like, your brand, it's not just the visual, it's not just the colors you're wearing, it's your reputation, like, what you're known for." And so her Virgo midheaven was ruled by her, like, one of the Pisces placements, and I was like, "You need to look at, like, RuPaul and John Cena." RuPaul, he does the drag. John Cena's "You Can't See Me." The midheaven operates on a spectrum. It's not just Pisces, we're fairies, we're mystical or whatever. And so, with your Virgo midheaven, I think it's always going to show that you have a level of excellence and detail oriented and very, stereotypical of Virgo fashion. So I'm not surprised hearing that story for you. I think if anything, we should expect more excellence from you.
Think this is a blurse for every Scorpio rising, you know?
Yeah, I think so. Scorpio rising, see, we are, I'm a late degree Libra rising, but I usually read for Scorpio rising horoscopes. But Scorpio rising are up on deck. Like this year, with all of the stuff happening in Leo, the South Node, Mars retrograde in Leo, Jupiter in Leo. Yeah, Scorpio risings, get ready.
But yeah, and so Leo then is my 5th house.
And your fifth house.
I believe so. Wait, am I
No.
wait, no, sorry, 9th house.
Yes. Yes.
I'm thinking of
Yes.
Aries.
But kind of shifting a little bit more into astrology, how did you get into it? Like, what led you down the astrological path?
Well, it was really the tarot. It was learning to read the tarot cards, and I literally would, like, write every single day, the astrology of every single day in a notebook and learn the transits and the energy, and then I had a YouTube channel. I did weekly tarot card readings and astrology updates. And I will say that that YouTube channel, like, it wasn't my intention to to keep a YouTube channel. I started that I was recording myself reading tarot cards so that I could trust myself and not stop my reading, not stop the channel, like the
Mhm.
and then after a while, I was like, "Well, I'm recording these videos, might as well do something with them." So then I started uploading them. And that was actually the most brilliant thing ever because it allowed me to be seen. Like, it allowed me to take that step to be seen as somebody who read tarot and was reading astrology and current with the astrology. But that's how it happened. Every card has an astrological counterpart and correspondence. Mhm.
You don't mind me asking then, like, how did you get into tarot reading? And I ask these questions because I'm really curious, with the mystical background with the music background, did you
Yeah.
ever find, like, where they actually, like, come together, or you had a similar, experience with both, whether it's, getting into tarot and astrology and then becoming a musician? Like, how did it all come together?
Yeah. Well, honestly, like I came to the tarot after my camera was stolen. This was during lockdown, during COVID. I was renting out my camera to people to make some money. And one day
Mhm,
my camera never came back. And I had an identity crisis. And I was like, wow, Grace, look at yourself. Like you're so attached to this camera, this thing. Of course, it's my living and this is expensive equipment. But I just was so depressed and realized that like I needed to develop myself further
mhm,
so that I wasn't so helpless to not have a camera, to not have
mhm,
this thing, this material thing. And what it represented was really important, of course. So I told myself, I made a commitment that I would learn to use my intuition. And the first thing my intuition told me was to go back to the tarot. And I was gifted a tarot deck a long time ago, like in college or something. And I had started to read cards for my friends, and they were really turned off by it. They didn't like it. They thought it was creepy. And so here's like another instance where I'm like responding to people's like kind of adverse reactions and I put it away. But, reading the tarot felt like second nature. I felt like I had support. I learned a new language to understand the world and myself through. And so combined tarot plus astrology, totally, especially after the 2 years of doing the YouTube channel, I was completely transformed in terms of how I speak and present my thoughts and ideas and how I view the world. Astrology gave me that language, and the tarot gave me that language.
I love that. That's such a beautiful answer, and I really resonate with that because similar to you, like, when I first got into, like, astrology and tarot, I was also kind of going through something. Was leaving temporarily leaving my music industry career and really wondering, like, who the hell am I when I don't attach myself to that, identity. And it was an ego death, and I also did lose some friends, and that's actually something I would like to talk a little bit more about if you're open to it. But losing friends for tarot cards and astrology and, I guess just your beliefs in general, what was that experience like for you? Because I have found that it's quite common for those who kind of have a spiritual awakening, for lack of better words.
Yeah, so you're asking about ego death.
Yes.
Let me preface this by saying that I have Pluto on my ascendant and I am like a shapeshifter. Like I feel like I'm constantly under fire of transformation. And we can talk about what like we could define what ego death is, but to me what I hear is that there's a part of me that needs to be cast aside in order to develop a new part of myself that I want, that I'm calling
Mhm.
in. And that's that ego death. The ego death basically says, I admit that I am in my own way, right? So, hold on. What was the question again? Like the actual question?
Like,
What
how
do,
did you navigate, like, losing the friendships? I guess having this pushback for pursuing the tarot readings, the astrology, and
this is a really hard question. I really empathize because I've also had sort of like mass exodus of friends leaving my life. I mean, but at the end of the day, what I realized today is that those weren't my real friends either. As I developed myself and practiced expressing myself, even if it's imperfectly, even if it's from a triggered place, I come back to this knowledge of like, well, everything is working out for me regardless of what it looks like on the outside. And I just
Mhm,
have to trust the process and trust that people who are around and the people who stick around are the ones that are meant to be in our lives. And I don't want to say meant like fated, but maybe there's a karmic lesson that's over. And by the way, to be in relationships, two people need to have open hearts, you know
mhm,
and we're not always available for that. So, for me, like I said earlier, when I was going through like a big breakup, actually, I relied on my community, ecstatic dance, the cat jammers, and slowly built my life back up that way by by meeting new people and opening myself up. And another big crux of this is that personal development, saying like I am my own best project. And I'm just so curious, like you can even tell this to yourself. I'm just so curious about me. What else can I do? What else am I interested in? Because a lot of times I think we define ourselves by our relationships. I've done that. I probably still do that. And yet we have enough to stand on our own and we have enough. And you're an artist, you're a creator. There's always time to commit to yourself.
Yes.
when other things aren't working out so much. So I just like I learned to go with the flow and not push.
Yeah. Again, I think it's just so crazy that we're having this conversation, but then I'm like, "Wait, you're a Scorpio rising," so it makes sense why I feel like we're paralleling. But actually, I guess that leads me into my next question. I already spoiled that you're a Scorpio rising, but, like, what is your big 3?
Right, Capricorn sun, Scorpio rising, Libra moon.
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, yeah, you've been having a interesting couple of years, I imagine, with Pluto leaving Capricorn. But you've had Jupiter opposing your Capricorn sun, Saturn, Neptune opposing your moon. We had the South Node in Libra like 2 years ago. There's been a lot. Yeah, I feel like your chart has been like very lit up over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and now I have Pluto over my Venus.
Right now,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. Tell me a little bit more about, like, do you have a specific interest in astrology? Like, do you like specialize in music and astrology, or are you more into like the psychological? What
Well,
interest do you have?
I guess I'm more of a consulting astrologer. This is the coolest thing about being at my first astrology conference recently is like I learned the different kinds of language that astrologers use to describe themselves, and I was able to contextualize myself within the grander community. So I would say I'm like a consulting astrologer. Like I love to help people with whatever they're moving through and looking at the stars as reference for ideas and practical advice. That's what I do for myself. But then in terms of like specific kinds of readings, and methodologies, I'm really into the solar return chart. So that's basically the birthday reading, right? And it's a predictive model of astrology that might say like, hey, this is how your year is going to go. And for me, I use that to infer what am I going to be experiencing? What should I focus on? And et cetera, et cetera.
Oh my goodness. I love that you brought up solar returns. That has been one of my like recent astrology fixations. This last year, I started really tracking my solar return. And I kid you not, I was a Gemini rising. During Taurus season, I was like sleeping the entire time with those 12th house transits in the solar return chart. And I was like, interesting. Like, I didn't think it was going to manifest like that, especially because in that chart, I was having my Venus return as well.
But that's lovely, right?
Yeah, I mean, I got to sleep, but it was also a lot of like mental health stuff at that time was popping up for me. But I'm like curious, like, have you noticed anything significant, like with your solar return, like things showing up in your solar return chart versus your natal?
Mm. Yes. Well, for example, my ascendant in my solar return this year is in Gemini. Ooh, Gemini. And I noticed that, and so actually, I'll tell two stories based on just the solar return ascendant. And so this year, my solar return ascendant is in Gemini, and last year it was in Aries. And I notice, I think that this is very true because last year Aries, right? Aries energy is impulsive, starter, initiatory. Last year, I did a lot of my firsts. My first in-home retreat, my first camping retreat, my first live mixed DJ set. I think I started
Right.
late 2024. Okay. There, there was just like a lot of firsts. I was, and that's, maybe that's, I'll just leave it there. Gemini now this year, I noticed that, and even this is, I'm connecting to this as a somatic experience. I'm having an overflow of ideas, overflow of experiences where even like there's like whooshiness in my head and I need to come back into my body and like clear my mind. I think I even messaged Colin from NORWAC
Mhm.
and he didn't see my message on Instagram, but I messaged him. I was like, "What do you Geminis do with all of this with this mental load?" You know, and maybe you can answer this for me, Jen, because I'm an earth sign experiencing way too much air and this is evidenced by like that I have so many projects always going on. By the way, did you know that I just designed my first fashion collection, my clothing line?
Oh my goodness,
Yes.
congratulations.
The samples are going to be dropped off today, like my
What?
pants. Yeah, and I had my maker, my pattern maker, Zach, also make my pants those pants in green, and the green versions, which will be the one and only, are the ones I will wear at during my Electric Forest DJ set.
That's so exciting.
So that's what I think of Gemini being is like, oh, so many interests, all these things, you know, and that's exactly where I am this year. It's like, wow, should I pick a lane or do I let myself explode into a million particles and like burst my creativity all over this world? Because I think that's how I'm kind of feeling. It's just like, wow, I can't even hold it back anymore.
And you ended up on a Gemini baby podcast. So
Okay,
this
so
whole
Gemini rising and Gemini baby, exactly. There's no coincidences.
no, no. I will say, like, as a Gemini, like, sometimes you just have to embrace the scatteredness, the chaos of it. Obviously, do your best to finish whatever you start. But I think with the Gemini rising, you're going to know at least two things are going to be on top of your mind. So at least try to, finish, take to the full distance, whatever those two things are. Yeah, I can resonate. I feel like, especially now that we have all the outer planets in fire and air sign, the ideas are nonstop, the chaos is nonstop, and it's just like, fire and air, it moves so fast. So it's like you have to kind of just like go with it. Just like the first instinct, the first hit of whatever it is, just go with it. So you scratch the itch rather than sitting there with the nervousness and the anxiety of it. Cause I've noticed that,
Mm.
when it even comes to like posting on social media, I'll have so many social media ideas or so many content. And I'm like, just post it so you get like the anxiousness out of you. And then once it's out, you don't have to think about it anymore. Versus if you sit with that anxiety in true Gemini fashion, you're just like, what do I do with it? I'm not feeling so great. And I feel this anxiety because I'm just sitting on the idea. And sometimes you just have to scratch the it.
Oh my God, have you read Big Magic?
No.
It's so good. The author talks about inspiration being like an entity, and even like, it like in like Roman time, we were thought to have genius. Like, and genius was like another entity that we had. It wasn't like something that we had, but an entity that would visit us. And what you're describing really makes me think of like, especially about the needing to post it or just go with that first thing. It reminds me a lot of like when I'm having what I think is like an amazing, brilliant thought, but my mind works too faster than my pen. Or my mind works faster than, of course, like me pulling up my camera and creating something with it. So like in this Gemini ascended solar return, I'm like, having a lot of experiences where it's like, oh, here's this thing. I can nurture this and put it out. And then it's gone.
Hmm.
And surely, like some of those times, like preparation meets, luck, and I'll put something out like that NORWAC video, right? And which was like my recap video or
Hmm.
something.
I
Yeah.
saw it. It was
And
amazing.
and I thought, yeah, it really resonated with a lot of people, and some of my friends, even in person, told me like, Grace, that video was amazing because we just love the way you're like talking so authentically. And I was like, yeah, well, that's because I was able to capture it live. Like that moment was not recreated to be shown, to be presented. That was one of the times that I think effectively I was able to execute something as I was feeling it, as it was being downloaded.
Mhm.
It was in the live experience, and of course the footage was from there too. It
Yes.
wasn't like I filmed a bunch of stuff and then after the fact created the story.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely showcased in that video, which again was such a beautiful video because not only were you talking like in the video and sharing your experience, you were showing the community and like people's real reactions to the things that were going on. And it was just so heart centered. And I think a great representation of what that weekend truly meant to so many people. But on like the inspiration note, like the inspiration entity, I think that's really interesting. I believe it was I could have this backwards, but I think it was Prince who once said he had to, like, implement his ideas, otherwise they were going to, like, Michael Jackson, the universe would give them to
Yeah,
him, and that's what that
totally.
made me think of. Where, like, sometimes I do feel like to some extent, like, the inspiration, the ideas that we get are downloads from the universe. If you don't do them, they will go to someone else. But do you think astrology and music are naturally connected? Did you go to Rick Levine's lecture where he was talking about, like, music and astrology and how they're basically, like, the same thing?
Which one was that?
It was his 2nd lecture. He was talking
The
mostly about the outer planets.
Was it the what the fuck?
Yeah.
Hold on. I have it. Honestly, no, I did not listen to that one.
That's okay. But I had asked him a question. I was basically telling him a little bit about me, about Gemini Baby, and I'm like, "Does this sound crazy?" I think it was more of like a validation question than an actual question, but you got to ask because we're living in some crazy times right now. And so he was like, music and astrology are essentially the same thing. They're not separate, they're the same thing. And honestly feel like you can pull math into that as well. But have you noticed, like, as a musician and as an astrologer, like things connecting, whether it's, the sound when you're like, oh my God, this sounds like very like Virgo midheaven. or this is how I'm like showing up in my artist persona and it's reflecting
Mm.
my Pluto on the ascendant. Like anything that stands out to you like that.
Yes. Okay, so I mean, musically, I connect to music very elementally, and this is actually part of the sort of ecstatic dance has a arc, if you will. And have you heard of five rhythms?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Interestingly enough, I've never done five rhythms, but I've studied five rhythms for my ecstatic dance like curation. And essentially five rhythms is like that there's five rhythms, a five rhythm arc. The first is like the stillness. Or sorry, what is it called? Flowing. It's flowing. So imagine water starting in the it's like ambient waters. So any music without a beat, but it's more ambient, celestial. And then it gets into staccato, which is then you start the beat. Okay, right. And so all the music, this is elemental, but you can start to think about what planets might move like this. Definitely
Yeah,
Mars,
that's a good point.
right? Mars is also very mechanical. In the waters, we have the moon and who else? Maybe Neptune,
Yeah.
the sun and Mars in this like, okay, we're getting there. And then it's peak. After staccato, we have peak or chaos energy. Chaos is essentially when we're at our peak energy and high output. Then it goes into lyrical, which is very expressive.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Venus is there towards the end, and then finally in stillness, which is like ether.
Hmm.
So that's actually the full ecstatic, more or less, the ecstatic dance arc. Elementally speaking, you're asking, does astrology play a role? I personally am inspired by, let's say, certain transits, or let's say it's Cancer season or it's a fire season. Like I definitely have a fire playlist for my music,
Very
but
cool.
I haven't really like, well, that's a lie. The closest that I've gotten to thinking about placements and music is this challenge. Can you pick a song, one song that embodies all your big three?
Mm,
So your sun, moon, and rising in one song. Is there a song that can express all of those things? And like, is that then like your song, your theme song? I don't know.
maybe you have to create that for us.
Maybe. I mean, I think you gotta pick it. You gotta pick your own song.
Yeah. There's a musician, Kate the Dreamer. I had her on last year. She made an album about astrology and she worked with a producer or a songwriter of every single zodiac sign for that song. So like for her Aries song, she worked with like an Aries producer or a songwriter. For Capricorn, it was a Capricorn producer or songwriter. And so everyone was represented. And it's so crazy because if you listen to her record, you can hear it sonically how their like I guess their zodiacs truly do come out in the songs. Like their song like Gemini was basically like the unofficial podcast song last year. And it was so like airy and light and playful, but also like very complex and engaging and dualistic. And I was like, oh my God, Kate, like girl, this is a masterpiece. Like you were able to include all of that. And so when you were talking about the planets and how they kind of tell a story sonically as well. I was thinking about that, but there's also this guy on TikTok, and I'm so sorry I don't know his name. I don't know him personally, but he made a series where he was saying how like certain songs sound wet and dry and like hot, like, like with the elements. And it was very similar to what you were saying. And it just makes me think that there's so much that we still like have to put into context when it comes to astrology and whatever other topic it is, music in our case, because you truly can associate so much of like the meanings to other things. Like this song sounds like the planet Mars, this song has a very like Pluto aspect to it. And it's like, we can talk about, and I don't want this to sound like a dig to like ancient astrologers or ancient techniques or anything, but like this is modern astrology now. This is where astrology is progressing, where we're going to start doing research on how does Neptune sound? How does Venus sound? What songs are being made that are like replicated? And I think, even I guess Rick's first lecture, the opening keynote where he gave us a list of how astrology is not just personality astrology. Now it's music and astrology, it's sports and astrology, it's film and astrology. And I feel like everything that we've been talking about in this conversation is such a like a perfect representation of how early we are in those conversations.
Absolutely. And I would add like Kay Taylor's lecture on creativity, the cosmic artist from NORWAC,
I
because
didn't get to see that one.
there she did It's really good because she goes, like, basically by form, by art form, and so there's one just for musicians, and she talks about the various placements and gives some examples of, like, what could be some musical placements.
So cool. Actually, that's a good segue into diving more into NORWAC. We've been talking about it throughout this conversation, but I know it was both of our first times attending. What was it like for you? Like, any major takeaways from that weekend?
Yeah, wow. Well, like I mentioned already, like it was so cool first of all to like feel my body relax. Like once I realized that everyone here is speaking the same language and by the way there's like zero pretension. Everyone is super welcoming, like all skill levels. There's no, for something that's very like skills based and also like very historical,
Mhm.
it would be so easy for this to be a highly intellectual space together. But what I found was so refreshing that all of this, the speakers and the way that this was organized, the organizers and the people who are participating and attending have such a care for not just the art, but for the people doing the art.
Mhm.
I just felt like I was receiving healing, honestly. If I had to pick like any group of humans to form the intergalactic federation, I would absolutely pick astrologers, you know. So it's that sentiment that I kind of like shared in my video of like this is like pretty awesome. Like everyone here cares so much about what they're doing. There were a lot of talks about like what's ethical and now I'm getting into reading more about decolonizing astrology and Western astrology, like not really existing. I still have a lot to learn on that front because what I have learned is Western astrology.
Yeah, same.
So now I know there's the revival of the Hellenistic astrology, and I have so much to learn. And the biggest thing that I took away was that like I've now contextualized myself within the greater community. So I know where I am, and I know what my work is, and I know that I am welcome and that I belong.
Isn't it so crazy just being able to simply speak to other people who understand the language? Because it's like, I think as astrologers, we may take it for granted, like, just the everyday interaction with people and being able to communicate with someone who actually understands what we're saying without having to break it down into multiple things. And I know for me, like, just being like, "Oh, what's your big 3?" And then like, people typically knowing, like, what that means and, like, how that energy operates. It's like, "Wow, I don't really tell you too much about myself, what family rising, look, you guys get it." You know?
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes we talk about astrology or I'm usually that person in the friend group, like, not to make everything about astrology, but
Me
I
too.
will usually say stuff like this. But some of my friends, they're like, literally, they're just like, I don't care. Or they're like, I don't believe in this. And I'm like, you don't have to. But, so there's disconnection, right? Like, where as astrologers so as an astrologer, right, we talked about this, I came to astrology through the tarot. It is a self-study. NORWAC was the first time that I got to be in community with astrology, like, at that level. Wow, how cool. Also, how
Yes.
cool that the next conference is in my hometown.
Right?
Cool, cool.
The universe is universing for you, for real, especially because I don't believe they do UAC every year, I think it's every couple of years.
Girl, the last one was in 2018,
Almost
which
10 years, oh my
yeah,
god.
so and that was a big year. Do you remember 2018? For you? I mean, for me, it was a big year. That was when I formed Gold Point Studio, started my business. Basically, I had another commitment then that I had made that I was going to commit to myself as an entrepreneur and LLC myself and grow from there. It was a big year for me.
That
Do you
was
think
Uranus, Taurus, that was the first ingress.
Do you think that astrologers are like, well, yes, it's been a while. Also, the astrology is just so chaotic right now. We need to gather. We must gather all the astrologers. And look, Chicago is a fantastic place to gather. It's like it's very progressive. It's a sanctuary city. There's stuff that goes on here that I think doesn't go on anywhere else. Where else can you host this? I mean, obviously there was NORWAC in the Pacific Northwest, and that was its own flavor and its own vibe and gorgeous. And on my Saturn IC line. But Chicago is like, I don't know. It feels like a bigger stage because it is.
Yeah, 15 lectures happening at once, like, the entire time that we're there, and I was like,
Do
"Oh
they
my
have
god."
recordings just like at NORWAC?
They do, but you have to purchase them.
So just like NORWAC.
So
Yeah.
yes, but they don't give us, like, the free 2, 3 weeks that we had. You have to immediately purchase them.
So
Yeah.
you can't preview or, like, watch after.
No, not from what I was told. So, I think that's the only thing where I was like, "Oh, that's gonna be hard," because whatever lectures we attend in person, like, make sure that's the one you want to attend.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to choose because there's so many happening all at once. I spoke to, Nicholas. I think he is he Golden Sparkles or something like that? I'm so sorry, Nicholas, if you see this. I'm pronouncing your brand wrong, but he helps out with NORWAC. He's, like, on the committee that he's also doing UAC as well, and he was telling me there's, like, 4 different floors, that all of the workshops are gonna be taking on, that there's gonna be, escalators that were going on and, like, 15 different lectures happening at once, and I'm excited because it sounds like fun, but it's also like, "Oh
Wow.
my god, like, how do we choose? I wanna go to every single one."
Yeah, and I wonder, like, if they have posted what the lectures will be so we could spend some time figuring out what we're gonna wanna see, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Do you have, like, any, like, favorite astrologers that you're looking forward to seeing potentially seeing?
Well, no, I don't I'm not I I don't know very many astrologers by name. Again, I've been in a self-study mode and like all the astrologers I know are the ones I met at NORWAC. So, well, for example, Pius, who wrote the book on the IC, like I'm definitely gonna look forward to seeing her again there at UAC. I bought her book. I'm reading it now.
How is
It's really good. I've started reading it and I'm having dreams about being in basements and I'm having very deep meditations with my ancestors, right? So I see the fourth house. So I think it's working like on a subconscious level. I did a retreat a few days ago, or was it last week? And they guided us through an ancestral meditation. And I had never met my grandfathers before. And I, in that meditation, spoke to my grandfather and had a conversation with him and connected with him for the first time ever.
oh my goodness, what a powerful experience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't know why the IC is like really relevant for me now. I mean, I wonder if there's some sort of activation that's Pisces, fourth
You have
house.
Aquarius in the 4th house.
Pisces. Aquarius is
Yes.
actually doesn't rule a house because it's intercepted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I have, Pluto's been going over my IC. I have a 2-degree Aquarius IC, and so Pluto has been slow burning me.
Whoa.
With everything I've been trying to move for, honestly, since 2023, I've been trying to move from Colorado, and it has not happened yet. My mom got into twice. I have an Aquarius moon as well, Uranus and Neptune. Neptune's right on my IC, and that's, like, spiritual awakening vibes, and I'm like, "Okay." So, yeah, that's why I had to ask about the books. I wanted to purchase that one as well. I have, like, my stack of 10 astrology books from the conference right next to me. I'm
Yeah, I
like,
got
"How
2
many?"
books. I got the IC and then I got the Solar Return book.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's
Wow,
awesome.
that's wild. Your IC is really, really alive. I met an astrologer in my community here, whose son is on her IC line.
That's an interesting manifestation, the sun being, like, such a, I guess, present facing
Luminary.
planet versus, yeah, and the IC being so private, so that contradiction of energy, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you think you'll move?
Her son?
You.
Oh, me, yes, 100%. I'm getting out of Colorado. There's no way. I've been trying to move since 2020, since the pandemic when I graduated from college, but I wasn't gonna move to I was gonna pay LA rent prices when everything was work from home, but then I ended up leaving my jobs and starting my own work from home business, so it's been like this, when do we actually leave the state? So, TBD.
What calls to you?
Right now, I'm thinking upstate New York. That is I have my Jupiter line there. I'm still trying to figure out exactly where I want to go versus I'm on my Neptune line here in Colorado, and I don't have any major lines going through California. And, yeah, I just feel like New York is calling me, but it's just a matter of actually making that happen.
What about Rochester?
Never been.
I've been once.
Yeah. How is it?
Yeah, it's nice. It's a small town.
Yeah.
But the nature's gorgeous.
Love. Yeah, I'm gonna look more into it. I'm thinking maybe like Hudson and Poughkeepsie, but I've never been there as well. That's what one of my sound engineer friends told me. it was weird. I was like, "I wanna move to upstate, and I'm gonna go to the city and then take the train to Albany and check it out because Albany's, like, central to everything." And he's like, "Do not move to Albany, like, do you have you ever been there?" I'm like, "No, but I'm just gonna go check it out." Went there, and I was like, "I cannot move here."
Really?
Yeah. I know we briefly touched on it, but is there any, like, favorite lectures from NORWAC that really stood out to you?
Ooh, well, a lot of them. I really liked a lot of them, but the one lecture that I feel like has been the most practical and something that I have easily, like, shared with others is Rebecca Gordon's natal chart business plan, where she, like,
Yes,
takes the
yes.
planets and then, like, turns it into so, like, something that I've been really meditating on is my Mars in Taurus. Mars and Taurus gets to take their time, and it's so interesting that I,
Mhm,
like, feel pressured sometimes to, like, achieve something and, like, do it quick and look at the results. But the other thing it tells me is that I like Taurus is a somatic experience. It matters how I feel when I do it. And in the seventh house. So for me, my work, though the style of my working means that I need to feel good about the partnerships that I create. I can't just work for anyone.
mhm.
And that's evident that's proven itself to be evident historically and in present day. So I just love her thing because it was so easy to digest, easily transmitted. It's something that I immediately am applying to like the people that I talk to, like not just my clients, but like my friends, like people that, you know, who need advice. I'm like, well, tell me where your Mars is and I'll give you some advice.
I love that. That's very cool. I was in that, lecture as well. And again, it just goes back to like how we're seeing astrology start to show up in different like industries and fields and how it's like very modern. Like, y- I don't know about ancient times, but I imagine none of them were trying to figure out how to go viral on TikTok using astrology. And that's what we're
Mm.
doing today, you know?
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to go back to real quick is that because you talked about the MC a lot earlier on this call, Rebecca's view on the MC as like our culture, like the culture that we provide through our work or, our work in the world. So the MC is like of course, what we're known for, but I love that she calls it culture because it speaks to like the environment that we're curating has, in my case, a Virgo essence or in your case,
Leo.
a Leo essence. And that's so true, yeah. I mean, look at you here,
Print
like,
behind me.
the print yeah, oh my god, what is that? Lisa Frank almost kind of print.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also, a culture of Leo is, like, all about visibility and creativity and shining, and, you've got this podcast where we're doing this, so it makes sense.
Yes. It's ruled by my 8th house Gemini sun. So it's a lot of like how I built Gemini baby was through us kind of like Rebecca's like methods, not exactly hers, but like very similar in approach. So yeah, 100% resonate with that. But Grace, did you have any other like standout moments from NORWAC or, being a musician and an astrologer or any thoughts about UAC? Anything that you'd like to share with us before we start to wrap things up?
I don't really have anything to add about NORWAC. I think that was like a tremendous experience, and I'm gonna like keep unpacking that for myself. Like even meeting the friends that I did there, meeting you, the support. Like I know that this is just a seed that's been planted, and it's what do they say about seeds? Like don't go back and dig it up to check it to see if it's growing. Like it's growing. It just needs
Mhm.
to be nourished and nurtured. And so I will be forever grateful for that moment. And I remember thinking like, can you believe that I almost didn't go? There was a time, there was a version of me this year that was being like, maybe I shouldn't go. I'm so glad that I went.
Me too.
And I'm excited for UAC. I'm gonna see if I can support the conference in some way because I would love to give to the community to support it. Of course, if not, then I will try to be there as an attendee for some of it.
Mhm.
I mentioned already I'll have my retreat going as well. And, final thoughts on music and astrology is that I think I come to both of those things like in moments of deep transformation. And just like we come across the things that we need when we need them, astrology is so much like that. So I guess it would be cool just to share some words for anyone watching who's on that same journey and coming to astrology and wanting to understand themselves. Like, this is a journey of self discovery. We are human beings in this crazy world. And astrology is the one thing, and music is also, that unites all of us in healing, in transformation. And so I'm going to keep leaning on those things and following, that drumbeat. And I'm just in closing feeling very grateful that I get to be more, a bigger, like more in the community now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I feel very similarly like what an experience. So grateful that you did attend because now not only did we meet, you came on the podcast and now I get to meet a fellow like music astrologer. Again, that it's just so incredible like what that conference has done because it really did bring the community together and made a lasting impact. I know on me for probably my entire life, like core memory has been unlocked. So
Jen, yeah, Jen, and I remember the moment that we met. We were at the
the
we
meet and
were
greet.
Yeah, we were at the meet and greet that they organized for all the first timers. And you know how it is, like a conversation has started, but we're standing in the same circle, but maybe not talking. And I think you decide to walk away, but after briefly saying that like you're in music
Hmm.
and you tried to leave, and I was like, no, 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 no. Come back here. I need to ask you about music. And I'm so glad that I heard you say that you did say that I was not being my shy self to be like, "Oh, I'll just talk to her later." But in that moment, that's sometimes that's what's required to like forge connection is like we just have to make it happen.
Yes.
And there were so many awesome people there that I didn't get to meet. And I'm just glad that you and I did. And then we hung out even and made some content together outside of that. So
And
yeah,
now hanging
thank
out in Chicago.
and now you'll be hanging out in Chicago. Yeah, so if you ever want to come experience ecstatic dance, of course, I have lots of connections here in Chicago for that. And just send me your schedule, okay? And
Yes,
I'll
it's
be
on my
happy.
list.
Awesome. I'd be happy to take you as my guest.
Thank you so much. Something that we do at the end of every Gemini BB episode is recommend 3 songs to our listeners. Which song would you like to recommend today?
Man. Okay. Do they have to be specific songs or can they be artists?
I usually go for songs because we
Okay.
do put out like a playlist with the recommendation.
Oh my god. Okay, cool. Let me pull up my kabas, which is what I'm using these days. Okay. Might reveal myself a little bit because some of this music I'm playing at my Electric Forest set list, but by the time this is out, it'll be way after, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I discovered this artist who I believe is now making their debut performing at Envision
Okay.
Electric Music Festival in Costa Rica.
Very cool.
You you don't have to use this if that is incorrect, but I'm pretty sure that that is the truth. And let me find it. Do you ever do that thing where you're like, "Oh, I love this song, but I like don't remember the name of it?"
Yeah, you just hear the lyric in your head or the melody.
Okay, let me see here. Which one am I going to give you? So the okay, and okay, so this is recommended listening for our reviewers, and this will be based off of the vibe of the moment. I'll pick one from this one artist that I've been obsessing over in preparation for Electric Forest, which is Polo and Pan. They are French. Did I get that right? Yes, they're French electronic duo. They have a really cool song called Magic. But
So,
definitely check out their whole discography. It's so fun.
ooh,
And
I'm excited.
okay, let me see which else am I gonna give you.
I'll throw in one of my recommendations. Maybe we can go back and forth. I just saw Louis Tomlinson from One Direction at Red Rocks, and I'm wearing his shirt right now. I'm
Oh,
still trying to
hey.
process that. I was a massive One Direction fangirl, and so the song I'd like to recommend today of Louis is "On Fire" because my brain is on fire because I can't stop thinking about that show.
That is so awesome.
Thanks.
So my other one I will give you is oh my gosh. What's the genre of the song you gave?
He's like rock and roll, like all pop.
Okay, okay. Mine's gonna be all in sort of like the dance world. The other song that I want folks to listen to is like such a vibe is called Moanin'
Oh,
for You by who is it by? Swing Republic.
your name.
Yeah, and it is that sort of like electro swing kind of vibe. And it's just the world that I've been living in based on, where I am and what I'm preparing for. But yeah, I hope that your listeners enjoy.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited. I haven't heard any of these songs that you're recommending, so it's gonna be a first for me as well. So I'm super excited. Um, The next song I will recommend is let's do Stupid Song by Olivia Rodrigo. I know we're like totally in two different genres right now, Grace, but these are the songs that have been like on top of my mind like all week. Olivia Rodrigo, she's breaking all kinds of records, as I'm sure by the time you guys see this, we'll know. Album is incredible. I wish I could recommend the entire album, but we're going to go with that one. So,
Amazing. Yeah, I've been seeing it's funny, the reason I know that is because when I'm picking music for my reels on Instagram, Olivia Rodrigo is just, like, blasting on the
yeah.
trending charts right now.
Yeah, she's breaking so many records with this album. It's incredible.
Alright, so I guess one more?
Yes, one more for both of us.
Okie dokie, no problem. How about not gonna tell you to listen to Golden, 'cause I'm late on that one.
Harry Styles?
Oh, no. It's from,
Well,
Huntrix.
you can see where my mind is. I'm still in One Direction fangirl land right now.
The last one I'll do, I mean, and this is such a because it really like tickles my heart is Zed's Out of Time.
Love it. I need to, like I said, I need to listen to all of these songs. I feel like Grace, I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to work at an electronic music label. But when I started working at that label, I was not into the electronic music scene. So it
Damn.
came to me after the fact. And so this last year, maybe these last 2 years, I've been really getting more into it. But like Zed, Skrillex, like Diplo, I'm so behind on like, the big electronic artists. Like I'm like trying to get more into it. So all of these songs I'm excited to listen to.
Wow, yeah, well, I hope you enjoy it. I mean, same thing happened to me. One time I was working for Dick Clark Productions, and that's how I learned I don't care about celebrities because their whole thing was about following like celebrities and celebrity knowledge. And I was like, can we get a life? I was like, can we do something else?
My answer is no. Not when we're wearing this today. I'm a hardcore fangirl. I don't know if that came out when we met, but like I'm
Fangirl of
super
what though?
of just musicians, genuinely. Like One Direction was my big one, but I fangirl about everyone, honestly. Sometimes I even fangirl about astrologers when I tell myself to keep it cool, like play cool. Like they're not gonna expect that. I had to tell myself at NORWAC with Austin Copic. I was like, oh my God, like I want to ask him for a selfie. I want to, but that's too much.
Did you?
No, I got afraid. I really wanted to. I chatted with him for like maybe like 3 minutes after his lecture on the nodes, or not the lecture, it was a workshop. It was like 6 hours workshop. But he
You did
was,
it?
yeah, I did. It was phenomenal. He's a great speaker. But yeah, I wanted to ask for that selfie, but I did not. I got a because no one else was asking him for a picture. And I was like, okay, Jen, you can fangirl about One Direction, but maybe this is your first time meeting the astrologers. Don't start like, hey, can I get a selfie?
Well, as a photographer, I know that people have different levels of comfort of being on camera or being photographed. So yeah, but you can always ask, and they could be like,
Yes.
"No, I don't want pictures."
Yes, I did that with, Judith Hill. That was the one I did fangirl a little bit, like, I bought her book, I don't have it next to me. It was, like, the love compatibility book, and she was there signing books for people, and I was like, as a Libra rising ruled by her Taurus Venus, I need to get at least one damn love astrology book.
Mm.
And so I asked her to sign it, and I asked her if I could take a video of her, and she said no, but she said she would sign it anyway. And I was like, okay, thanks. She just said she doesn't like being on camera. And I was like, that's okay, valid.
See, yeah.
The last song I'd like to recommend is Can't Wait No More by Devault. He is in the electronic music scene. I recommended a handful of Devault songs over the last couple of years, and I just was at his show back in January. He kicked off 2026 for my fangirlness. And so it will be the last one I'm recommending. But Grace, thank you so much for joining us today. I had such a great time chatting with you. I know you are super busy and have a lot going on. So it really does mean a lot that you took the time to, chat with us today. But I'm wishing you all of the best with your set. I know by the time this comes out, you'll have already done it. So I'll be keeping an eye out for all of the content from there. So
Thank
thank
you so much, and I'll see you soon.
yes, Chicago, UAC, here we come.
Bow, bow, bow.
And a massive shout out to Grace. Thank you so much for coming on this week's episode of Gemini Baby. You know, we said it in the episode, but I also remember very vividly meeting Grace for the first time. Our entire connection has just felt so divinely led. Like, seriously, something is happening in the cosmos right now because meeting Grace was totally by chance because not only is she a professional astrologer, she's also in the music industry. And if you guys know anything about Gemini Baby, y'all know that is exactly the type of person that I am trying to bring on the podcast. And so meeting Grace just felt like such a dream come true. And so thank you, Grace, again for coming on this episode. I had such a pleasure getting to know you, and I'm truly looking forward to UAC Chicago here. You guys already heard our music recommendations. If you're looking for that, because I know we're doing things a little bit different here right now, go back to the interview with Grace. We give our music recommendations there. But at the end of every Gemini Baby episode, we also pull a collective affirmation. I don't have my affirmation cards with me, you guys. I am still here with cat calls. Hopefully the camera can focus on that. Those are my iconic 5 and below cards that my niece helped me pick out. So we're gonna stick with them for who knows how long until I open my storage bin and get the affirmations out. So I guess until then. But let's see, what does the universe want everyone that's listening to know? What message does the universe have? Let's see. That one almost came flying out. Okay, universe, what does our listeners need to know right now? What is their motivational cat card that they need to hear? See? Well, you guys got 2. Congratulations. The first card, you got this. I love the cat, mouth wide open, living their best life. They're so cute. I actually kind of want a cat that looks like this. That's kind of on my cat bucket list. Oh no, the lighting. Yeah. But you guys, whatever you're going through, whatever you're experiencing, you got this, especially because when this episode comes out, we'll be in a Mercury retrograde. So if you're experiencing any Mercury retrograde shenanigans, you got this. And then the next card is no one is you, and that is your superpower. Hey, that is a good reminder to my artists. You guys, recognize your uniqueness, recognize your individuality. We are living in the Saturn and Neptune in Aries era right now. But Saturn's only there for about 2.5 years, and Neptune's going to be in Aries for about 12 years. So this is really about honoring our individuality, embracing our authenticness. And so just remember that no one is you, and you being yourself wholeheartedly is your superpower. And that, my friends, is your reading for this week. Again, thank you so much to Grace for coming on this week's episode. I'm looking forward to the rest of season 2, you guys. I could geek out forever talking about astrologers and finding people who understand both music and astrology. There's just so much. So stay tuned because y'all know we have more up our sleeve. We have more interviews with astrologers, with more musicians, with execs, with psychics and witches. We have a lot going on here at Gemini Baby. So I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.